Airports today are pristine environments: smooth floors, automated carousels, and rigid polycarbonate luggage gliding quietly on wheels. Into this highly structured space arrives a simple, soft-sided canvas cylinder. It lacks wheels, internal compartments, or any rigid frame. Yet this unstructured, survival-focused bag remains ubiquitous in an era defined by luxury travel. The explanation for that survival requires looking back hundreds of years to a damp, cold medieval town in Belgium known as Duffel. Early travelers relied on wooden trunks. They featured heavy hardware, iron hinges, and completely unforgiving dimensions. They were heavy even when empty, entirely impractical for moving quickly, and terrible for uneven transport. Meanwhile, the weavers in Duffel were producing a specialized wool fabric. It was thick, weather-resistant, and built specifically to endure harsh, freezing conditions. Eventually, the textile itself became known across Europe simply as duffel cloth. When people started using this rugged material to carry gear, they settled on a specific geometry. This animated diagram shows how a cylinder distributes outward pressure equally across its curved surface, eliminating the weak points found in the rigid corners of boxes. From a manufacturing standpoint, a cylinder is exceptionally efficient. It requires no internal frame, and the entire structure can be sewn directly from a single flat rectangle of heavy fabric. The initial shape was driven by strict necessity. It was a purely functional solution for securing goods and surviving primitive transit. That functional geometry found its first major test on the open ocean. Sailors adopted the heavy cloth bags to manage personal gear in the wet, cramped environments below deck. Wooden luggage performed poorly in tight quarters, where space was constantly shifting. A soft, cylindrical bag could be compressed, squeezed into narrow corners, and stacked efficiently against the curvature of a ship's hull. Because sailors carried them from port to port, the object accumulated a specific reputation. A packed canvas cylinder meant you were leaving land and moving toward distant locations. This maritime utility eventually scaled upward. By the 19th and 20th centuries, global military logistics required storage solutions on an industrial scale. Armies had to transport millions of uniforms, heavy boots, and wool blankets rapidly across continents. They needed a container that was cheap to produce, highly durable, and easy for a single person to carry over their shoulder. During the Second World War, the design reached peak saturation. Millions of soldiers traveled across the globe with their entire complement of personal gear stuffed into heavy canvas cylinders. When those soldiers returned home, the bags came with them. Military equipment routinely reintegrates into civilian life, and the rugged canvas bag was rapidly adopted by the general public. Global conflict acted as an accelerator, taking a specialized maritime tool and scaling it into a ubiquitous logistical container. As the 20th century progressed, the design naturally transitioned into sports culture. Athletes required a highly specific type of storage for locker rooms and gymnasiums. They faced a recurring issue, carrying bulky, irregular items like cleated shoes, damp towels, and protective gear. A flexible, high-capacity bag solved the problem instantly. This adoption gave the object a new context. It dropped its strict association with combat, becoming an everyday indicator of physical fitness and local transit. Through this transition, the core philosophy remained intact. It favored one massive, easily accessible compartment over complex pockets and rigid dividers. That capacity for heavy abuse made it ideal for an entirely different environment: the harsh demands of alpine expeditions and remote base camps. Mountaineers needed a container that could hold climbing ropes and sleeping systems, while surviving being dragged across rocks, dropped into snowbanks, and tied to pack animals. Outdoor brands eventually updated the construction. They replaced traditional canvas with waterproof laminates, ballistic nylon, and reinforced stitching to handle extreme weather conditions. The exterior materials became technical armor, but the underlying geometry was left alone. The cylindrical shape already solved the problem perfectly. Today, consumer luggage is highly engineered. Suitcases feature telescopic handles, omnidirectional wheels, and rigid polycarbonate shells. Yet the soft duffel still sits on airport baggage carousels right alongside them. It survives because of its extreme physical flexibility. Rolling luggage fails on dirt trails, inside cramped boat cabins, or tossed into a crowded truck. The soft bag conforms exactly to whatever space is available. This split-screen diagram highlights a critical advantage. A rigid box occupies its maximum volume even when entirely empty. A soft cylinder compresses down to almost nothing when unused, yet expands outward to accommodate highly irregular loads. Beyond physical utility, the bag carries a specific psychological weight. Picking one up feels inherently temporary and geared toward immediate action. A pristine, hard-shell suitcase prioritizes ease and comfort. A weathered canvas bag communicates experience, durability, and raw utility. The bag's form is devoid of aesthetic padding. It was built to survive the friction of constant movement, and by refusing to evolve into a status symbol, it remains a tool focused strictly on the survival of its contents. From medieval Belgian weavers to sailors, soldiers, and alpine explorers, the lineage is clear. The most enduring objects are those built specifically for people moving through an unpredictable world.
For more content like this, like and subscribe to our channel.